Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Going to start this council meeting for McDougall. As a result of the declaration of emergency issued by the Municipality of McDougall for the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the requirements for social distancing, this committee council meeting will be held electronically in accordance with Section 238 of the Municipal Act 2001. I would ask that the clerk now take a roll call to determine quorum and advise who is participating in the meeting today. Mrs. West.
Thank you. Mayor Robinson.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Constable.
Present.
Councillor Gregory.
Present.
Councillor Malott.
Present.
Councillor Ryman.
Present.
It is now determined that we do have quorum to proceed with the meeting. I will now take attendance of staff to advise who is joining us. Tim Hunt, CAO.
Present.
Chief Ledoux.
Present.
Aaron Robinson, Treasurer.
Present.
Kim Dixon, Chief Building Official.
Present.
Lori West, Clerk, myself. Everybody.
Thank you. A reminder to council that movers and seconders for all motions have been assigned. If when the motion is read, you would prefer not to move or second a particular motion, please advise me at that point. I now call the McDougall Council meeting to order. Any declarations of interest? Seeing none. Prioritization of the agenda. Any changes? No. Item 4, adoption of minutes. Moved by Councillor Ryman, second by Councillor Gregory, that the minutes of the committee council meeting held on October 7th, 2020 be adopted as circulated. Discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? It's carried. Deputations, we have 2 scheduled for tonight. Going to change the order of them. I don't see our first presenter in our video. Oh, cheers. Oh. Welcome, Ms. Johnson.
Hello.
So you come in just on time. You're up on the agenda for your deputation. So the floor is yours.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And just bringing up my presentation here. So hello and greetings on behalf of Board Chair Lynn Gregory and members of the board Art Coles, Ted Knight, Don Carmichael, Paul Borneman, Doug McCann, and Cheryl Ward. My name is Kami Johnson, and I was honored to join the Belvedere Heights team in late December 2019 as part of a management consulting agreement with Lakeland Long-Term Care and the West Prairie Sound Health Center. Our goal is to create a community of excellence with close, effective collaboration in keeping with our Ontario Health Team priorities. A little bit about me. I have worked in long-term care in one capacity or another for the past 18 years. So I started off originally working as a personal support worker while I was studying to become an RN. And initially, I actually wanted to pursue a career in pediatric oncology, but I started working in a long-term care home named Pine Haven in Waterloo. I just absolutely fell in love with everything about long-term care. And so that's where I stayed. I stayed for 14 years at Pine Haven Nursing Home. I started as an RN working on the floor, and then as the clinical care coordinator, the MDS RI coordinator, eventually the director of care, which eventually brought me up here to Parry Sound. So I had always loved this area, and there was an opportunity that I saw that was offered at Lakeland Long-Term Care in 2016. And so we took the leap and we made the move to Parry Sound, and we've never looked back. It was the best decision of my life. And that eventually led to me joining the team here at Belvedere. When I first joined Belvedere, our initial priorities were focused on 2 major pressures that were facing the home. These included creating and implementing a plan of action, to address both a director referral and a number of compliance orders related to care concerns and the prevention of abuse and neglect within our home, we were also facing a significant staffing shortage. And so we got to work. Building upon the good work of our predecessors, CEO Marcia Rivers and Director of Care Connie Harris, and utilizing the culture change package, engaging staff and individualizing care, we focused on the following initiatives. Consistent assignments, so engineering trust and individualized care, focusing on those relationships closest to the resident. Shift huddles, engineering teamwork and communication. Quality improvement closest to the resident, engineering staff engagement and performance improvement, moving our meetings from the boardroom to the bedside, and involving consistently assigned PSWs in care plan meetings, thus engineering better care. These 4 incubated practices together provide the infrastructure needed to continually improve quality of care and quality of life outcomes. This communication infrastructure provides the backbone for success in efforts to implement QIP, provide good behavioral health, improve accuracy of the MDS-RI, and operationalize person-centered care planning. Used together, these practices create a system to accelerate clinical improvement by capturing and applying staff's deep, timely knowledge of residents' individualized needs, customary routines, and daily condition. I can move to the next slide. We are immensely proud of the work our team has accomplished in these domains, including the creation of consistent team assignments that ensure care partners are able to be dedicated to the residents they serve and know them well. Consistent assignments foster strong relationships and the provision of care based on the residents' preferences and customary routines. Through our daily leadership rounds and shift huddles, care partners come to be in direct communication with one another, fostering timely, accurate, problem-solving communication that provides equal voice, shared knowledge, and shared goals. By leading daily team huddles on the home areas, we commit to standing up with one another to support our team in meeting residents' needs and identifying clinical issues that can be addressed on the spot. Our team, led by our intrepid Director of Care, Sue Thornton, and I think that's the next slide. That's my favorite picture of her ever. She regrets that she ever brought that picture in, but I have it now. Have worked hard on these initiatives, and we were pleased to see many positive outcomes for our team and the residents we are so privileged to serve. And all this culminated in June 2020, when the Ministry of Long-Term Care conducted a follow-up inspection related to the original orders that led to the director's referral. And I am so proud to share with you that there were no findings of non-compliance, and all orders, including the director's referral, were cleared. And I think that takes us to our next slide. Another significant challenge we were facing was a critical staffing shortage throughout our nursing department, and there continues to be a critical shortage of PSWs in the Parry Sound area, indeed provincially. By supporting PSW programs in northern communities, we were able to support members of our community, including members of our team, to pursue their dream of a rewarding career in healthcare. I worked as a PSW, as I mentioned earlier, throughout college, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. Every day, I made a real and tangible difference in the lives of others, and the wisdom and experiences they shared with me helped to inform the type of healthcare professional I wanted to be. PSWs are certainly leaders amongst us, and we at Belvedere Heights feel very privileged to be able to help others to pursue this most noble of professions. I am happy to report that we are currently sponsoring 4 teammates to complete their PSW certification at the Canadore Parry Sound campus, as well as a plan to sponsor a further 4 teammates or members of our community in January 2021. As you're well aware, in the middle of March 2020, everything changed. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, a state of emergency was announced across the province, and measures to protect our home and our team were being updated daily, if not multiple times daily. Indeed, over the course of the pandemic thus far, we have received over 65 new directives. Our team at Belvedere worked collaboratively with Lakeland Long-Term Care and the West Parry Sound Health Centre to ensure all measures, directives, and best practices were in place to keep our residents and our homes safe. I am so proud of the work our team accomplished and continues to accomplish in the face of this emergency. Isolation rooms were created on each of our home areas. Cohorting areas were created on each of our home areas. Every routine needed to be revised. From our dining routines, our programs were all revised to maintain physical distancing while continuing to support our residents' need for social engagement and meaningful activities. Extensive education related to infection prevention control was provided to our team. Our programs team worked tirelessly to ensure our families and residents stayed connected throughout the pandemic. Through weekly Zoom calls, we have kept an open and regular communication channel with our residents and their families. And our staff continue to put the safety of residents first and undergo twice monthly COVID-19 surveillance testing. On July 2nd, during routine surveillance testing, 2 asymptomatic staff tested positive for COVID-19 at Belvedere. The team mobilized and we were immediately in touch with public health and implementing all additional outbreak measures as directed. These were certainly very scary times for our team, our residents, and our families. We met daily with our families and residents until the outbreak was declared over to ensure questions and concerns could be readily addressed and updates were provided promptly. The Belvedere Heights team were amazing, pulling together despite their fears to ensure all residents continue to receive excellent care and services. Not a single staff member refused to return to work. Due to the team's hard work and the comprehensive measures we had implemented over many, many months, there was no further spread within our home, and we were able to declare the outbreak over after 14 days. This has been a most interesting and challenging year, and I am so grateful that I've had this opportunity with support from the board, West Prairie Sound Health Center, and Lakeland Long-Term Care to serve the residents and staff here at Belvedere Heights. It is a truly wonderful home and a wonderful team, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to sing their praises and for your ongoing support.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from council? Councillor Ryman?
Thank you, Worship. I would just like to pass on my congratulations to the Belvedere staff and the board members. I know Councillor Gregory has spent endless hours on what she has done thus far, and I just want to pass on the congratulations. I know the community is so proud of the accomplishments. So way to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Councillor Gregory? Oh, unmute.
I get excited when I have to speak here. So it's, thank you very much, Cammie. I don't know whether the others noticed a sign on the front lawn, but that was put up by McDougall's staff. And we've redone it a couple of times now, and it looks pretty good still. So it's good.
Good. Any other questions or comments? All right, well, I'll just echo Councillor Ryman's sentiments there. Thank you very much for all that you do for the board and for the staff at Belvedere. Challenging job at the best of times, and we're in some very tough times right now, which makes it even more challenging, but you certainly seem to be up to the task, and your enthusiasm comes through very loud and clear in your presentation. So thank you very much for bringing us up to date tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Have a good night.
You too.
Next deputation scheduled for tonight is the Park to Park Fall 2020 update. We have Mr. Ryland joining us tonight, I believe.
Yes, that's right. It's Nick Ryland here. I'm not sure if you can see me or hear me, but I hope you can.
We can hear you loud and clear. We don't have your video.
Video yet? Okay, well, I did check the button. I just can't see myself even on the screen at the moment, but here, let me try something else. Okay, well, Lori, if you can you just put the presentation that I sent you up on the screen? I mean, I can't see it at the moment, but that doesn't cause me any particular problem. I have a copy here in front of me and I can certainly speak to it.
The presentation is up, Mr. Ryland.
Okay.
The first slide.
Okay. Please call me Nick anyhow. Anyway, I'm Nick Ryland. I'm the president of Park to Park Trail Association. And I'm sure most of you know, if not all of you know, that we manage a trail that connects at its extremities, Killbear to Algonquin Park. Meaningfully, the trail runs effectively, the largest volume of traffic on the trail runs from Highway 400 in and around Perry Sound over towards or to Kearney over by Highway 11. That certainly would account for the bulk of the traffic on our trail. We have 230 kilometers that we manage. And as you can imagine, that takes a great deal of effort. We have some information here. I'm not planning to read it other than to simply say that during COVID, actually, we became quite aware that we are what I have described on page number 2 as the tourism jewel of the region. Simply put, that for a lot of reasons during COVID, there wasn't a lot of other things that people were permitted to do. Hence, we found that our usage actually went up, although we did open significantly later than usual. I've also pointed out that the same trail, the Seguin Trail as it's sometimes known, and or the Park to Park Trail, is the most used snowmobile trail in Ontario during the winter. Our board, or my board, doesn't manage the trail during the winter season. We simply give it over with a land use permit to a couple of the snowmobile districts, and they manage that in the winter, but indeed it does get a great deal of use. Hence, it's very important for local tourism and for local attractions. Can you turn to page 3, Lori? Obviously, I can't see exactly what you're showing, but which just starts out with serious delays in opening. Can you see that?
We're on page 3.
Okay, good. Thank you. As I pointed out here, we did open materially late. While we don't really have a fixed season, our seasons are really governed by the weather. So that basically in the spring when the snow melts, then Park to Park takes over the management and operation of the trail. We would normally open, it varies, but we would normally open sometime in April or certainly in May. This year, because of COVID, we chose to not open until June the 6th. We therefore missed a couple of months of sales, certainly a month and a half of sales. We believe that probably cost us something in the range of $12,000 that we didn't receive simply because we weren't open. We also did not hold, we typically hold a rally, a ride, if you want me to call it that, in June around Father's Day. We also didn't do that for COVID reasons as well. And we, the previous year, we earned about $10,000 from that rally. So that was another lost opportunity for us. We did apply for the wage subsidy, the federal government wage subsidy, and we've received about $12,000 to date. I know we said 10 here. We received another $1,700 just in the last week. And we applied for the Canadian Emergency Business Account loan, the $40,000 loan that some of you might be aware of. And we were approved. We received the money, and it's basically being held aside so that we don't commingle it with our operating money. So it's safe and things for now, and it gives us some comfort that we could survive a hit. Right now, we are okay for money. I checked this afternoon, and believe it or not, the money remaining in our bank account right now is about the same as it was last year, within a couple $1,000s, simply because for the most part, we didn't spend money on things, not knowing what we would have coming in. Basically, the bulk of our money comes from past sales. We've got a slide later. I'll talk to those figures. And from a COVID perspective, we had lots of conversations with the health unit and basically followed their advice. One of the concerns was that we didn't have indoor facilities where people would gather and potentially spread COVID. We do not have any indoor premises at all. We simply operate a trail, mostly a dirt trail, that runs the length of the that I mentioned before. So, okay, can you slip to page 4 then, Lori? Thank you. Okay, so it's interesting here to say that, I mean, we manage a trail that is longer than the distance from Perry Sound to Barrie, which is quite a remarkable way of thinking about that. And at the moment, we operate that with basically one full-time employee, Peter Searle, who is watching this from your YouTube feed. and a number of part-time volunteers. Myself, our whole board is comprised of volunteers. We don't get paid for anything. We simply do this to help manage the organization. But to think that we run something that far with basically one employee is a remarkable accomplishment. There has been an issue with there has been an issue about governance. One of the other local councils, Seguin Council, I don't think we need to hide that or disguise it, had some concerns that we didn't have our governance documents in place. Like almost any volunteer organization, frankly, people come and go over time. And a variety of people, have come and joined the organization since its inception, which is around 2000. And the reality is that a lot of early documents were not readily available. Since then, we've been able to gather those things up and store them and share them through the use of an app called Dropbox, which is a convenient way to both store them and share them with people, which we have done. We have a governance committee that we've created to figure out the next steps with those documents and how to amend them to fit our present circumstances. Like any documents that are, 20 years old or approximately 20 years old, there is a lot of issues with the thing simply being out of date with how the trail currently operates, and there's a big need to do it. Frankly, there is nobody at the moment on our board that has any particular expertise on that other than, just from reading them, it's obvious what things we need to change and update. But there are a lot of other issues involved, including going back to our Articles of Incorporation and our original Constitution and that type of thing. We have asked, particularly Seguin Council, if they could provide some expertise to us to assist us with being able to update those things. And I know that they're working on it. I haven't received an update from them in the last month, but hopefully that's the case anyhow. Sorry, folks, can you tell me, are you able to see the slides on your screen in
Yeah, right now we're looking at the park to park organization issue slide that you're
Okay, good. I'm just wasn't sure. I mean, that's hard. It's hard for me because I can't see what you're seeing.
But it's unfortunate with this technical difficulty, but
yeah,
we are.
No.
Wes is keeping the slides up to you, so we're good.
Okay, that's good. And one other thing that we got requested to do was to look for a new fully accredited external auditor, which we did. We had some conversations with a few audit firms, and we selected one, which is Brandy Harris from Gingrich and Harris in Parry Sound. We have commenced or she has commenced our 2020 audit. We've been sharing information with her now for the past, more than a month now anyhow. So that seems to be working down the road, and hopefully that will assure people that, that our funds are not going amiss. I don't think, certainly speaking for myself, I was new to the board about 4 years ago, and I became president, I think, 2 or maybe 3 years ago. There had never been any concern on my part about our finances or anything like that. Frankly, we are quite able to look at our transactions day to day. I updated my information today by just going, we have an account with the Kawartha Credit Union, and they have quite a sophisticated application that allows us to double check on all our stuff and to make sure that our procedures are in place and that money isn't going amiss and everything else. One of the positive things that changed with us this year was that we did not, we stopped selling trail passes for cash through a number of local vendors. And so for all of 2020, we simply sold our trail passes online. So therefore there was no cash being taken in at any point. That is a big change from previous years when a large amount of our sales, I can't tell you a percentage, but it would probably be something in the range of 40%, were sold by vendors in and around the area. And we stopped doing that simply because nobody wanted to handle the cash. And we don't propose to go back to that either. Okay, can you turn the page then to page 5?
I think Mr. Ryland just said it. We're gonna have to watch our time tonight.
Okay.
Nice presentation and we've had this so we can look at it and do it. So maybe I'm gonna just,
Okay,
I want you to get to the end of your presentation as well. So maybe
I
can
can
we
do that.
to
I
your
mean,
page
yeah,
11?
I'm sure you're quite able to read and don't need me to go through those things with you.
You're doing a good job, but I just kind of, maybe I'm just looking at your presentation, though, maybe can we go to page 11?
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. That's actually where I thought we would head anyway. So,
Good, thanks.
I mean, what are we seeking? That's how I titled the page is, 4 things: people, material, equipment, and funding. The simple truth is that, because we're volunteers, that there is a fairly constant turnover in that we need members, like just not necessarily board members, but members of the organization that can help us with things and provide some input and feedback. We need board members. We had a board member resign just earlier this week because he moved away from the area. We could use a council rep. I know in the past we used to have a rep from McDougall Township, not during my tenure, but I know that was something as well. We need volunteers basically of all kinds and expertise, and more important than anything else is we need people to help us with a bunch of the labor on it. It doesn't have to be somebody that does it all the time, but even just once in a while makes a big difference. We also had another township actually donate materials to us. So some fill for depressions and or ponding on the trail, and some help with some grading, some culverts, lumber, that type of thing. If you read through it, I know you can see that we had a number of bridges, and they're a constant source of, they're a constant need for maintenance on those things. So we need help with that. Equipment was something else I thought I would mention. McMurch actually, I know they're right on the trail, but I mean, they also came out and did some grading for us with that, and or I don't think they've done any brushing this year, but those are all very valuable things to us. And it's the things that almost all of our riders notice right away is the state of the trail. And most importantly, we need some funding for things to make the next step with our journey as an organization. I'm planning on telling you, I didn't put it in here because I didn't want to be tied to it in a particular way, but frankly, what we would need more than anything else is cash, because it keeps our head above water and allows us to pay our bills. I'm hoping that in the next year that you could see your way to making a donation to Park to Park of $10,000. And that's quite an amount, but when you see the number of things we're doing with a very small purse, it becomes critical. Without it, frankly, there are times when we are in danger of not being able to operate the trail, or at least operate it fully. So the last page, which is about a property, we've been following that up for a few years now, is to see if we can find a place near the trail so that we can use it as a trailhead, as a headquarters, and that type of thing. And again, all of that requires money. I won't go through anything else on page 12, but just to understand, I mean, if you have questions about anything in the deck, whether we talked about it or I talked about it or not, I'd be happy to discuss those things with you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ryland.
Okay.
Any comments, questions from council? Gotta get some pictures back up so I can see if someone has their hand up.
Right now I can see boxes for everybody, but I don't see anybody in them, so.
No. Now we've got heads back. Anyone, any comments or questions? We're just going into our budget discussion, so certainly your ask for finances will be discussed at that point in time amongst our council. When you're asking for help in terms of equipment and that, do you have a plan of some sort that you could share to say, here's a particular spot and here's what needs to be done with it?
I don't have a document that I can share with you. I'll be honest about that right now, but that is something that we're also working on. We have a board member that has kind of taken on the lead role for maintenance, and one of the things that we plan to do is to make up a written plan for what things and with what priority and with what kind of costing. Our number one expenses in the last 2 years have been bridge repairs. And I didn't read it, but we do have 14 bridges, and without any one of them, frankly, has a major impact on the trail. In some cases, it closes down a whole section of the trail. So that's why it's critical to us. But we can get one of those, put it together, and provide it to you. We would give it to Lori. Is that?
Yeah, if you send it to Mrs. West, then she can share it with the appropriate people.
Okay. Well, we'll call that a project plan, and we can share that with you. I don't know timing, but certainly within the next month, I would hope that we can put one together and share it. So.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
If there's no other questions or comments, then I'll just, I don't go on the Sigmund Trail at all in the summertime or the Park to Park Trail, but certainly in the wintertime, that major artery of running from Perry Sound through and over to Highway 11 is a major backbone for snowmobiling in this area. So I can understand your sentiment in terms of how critical it is for every one of those bridges to be functional and to be safe.
Yeah.
Handle the groomers and the traffic that goes on them. Anyway, thank you for the presentation tonight, and thank you and your board for all the good work that they do throughout the year.
Well, thank you for your help and for having us. Anyhow, I appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay. Matters arising under deputations. Planning and building. Item 6.1, moved by Councillor Malat, second by Councillor Constable, that the Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of McDougall deems application Z01 2020 for Mercer to amend the municipal zoning bylaws, a complete application under subsection 34 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990 P13 as amended. Discussion. All those in favor? It's carried. Is Z new in front of those? The zoning? The designation? It threw me off. I saw the
No, that's my numbering system.
numbering system.
Yeah,
Okay.
number, sorry.
Item 6.2, the planning and building, moved by Councillor Ryman, second by Councillor Gregory, that the Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of McDougall deems application Z02 2020 for Durance to amend the municipal zoning bylaws, complete application under subsection 34 of the Planning Act as amended. Discussion. Call the question. All those in favor? Carried. Matters arising under planning or building? No. Mr. Dixon?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. I just wanted to bring council up to speed with currently at the time I'm looking at updating or changing the building document management and permit process software. Through COVID and modern times, it's come to light that I think we can function way more efficiently with a cloud-based system where property owners, contractors can apply for permits wherever they are, whatever time of day and whatever device they're on. There is a system out now, it's called Cloud Permit. It's very economical. It's a end-to-end system, basically, meaning it covers every function that the building department would do. And it is similar cost to what we're paying now on an annual basis for the system we have. And from what the OBOA themselves have signed an agreement with this company to sort of encourage all municipalities to go this way. The province has a mandate as well to have municipalities and the province provide online services. So it sort of fits with the theme. I wouldn't doubt in the near future it'll be a mandate or a requirement that we do this, but regardless of that, I don't, that's not a deciding factor here, but I really do believe that this system will make things much more easier for ratepayers, contractors, and ourselves to manage and organize our documents. Basically, the way it works is it's kind of like setting up a Netflix account for a ratepayer or a contractor. And every permit they apply for, they know in real time how we're managing them, where they are in the approval process. Everything's automatic. Every step we take, the contractor or homeowner gets a notification automatically on where we are, what's approved, what isn't. Inspection reports, everything is all done automatically. So there's no coming back to the office and sending out reports. If a contractor needs to submit another document, say a change of plans or an engineer's report, he just logs into his account via similar to like an online portal. And they just basically drag and drop the document into their permit file. So everything's all there. No need for us to print and scan and all these different steps that we do now. I did something, we're really, right now I'm at the due diligence stage to kind of talk to other municipalities that are using it and things like that. But I just wanted to let council know that's the direction I think we're probably going to go if the due diligence checks out. We spoke to our IT people here now. They're very, they seem very positive about it. They actually thought it was a good move and spoke with the other managers. We had some presentations through Zoom to all the managers and very positive outcome from it. So again, I just wanted to bring council up to speed on it. And if we do decide to go that way, the company has committed to doing a Zoom presentation to all builders, homeowners who are interested to kind of show them the system. What's really neat about this system is it's basically paperless. It's intuitive. There's so much help systems in place so that if there is any questions, there's step-by-step guidance. Anybody that still wants to apply the old way can still do that. And we would just enter it like we do now. Because right now, somebody brings in paper, we just basically scan it and put it into the system now. So there's no difference if for those people that don't want to deal with electronics, which there are some out there, and hopefully from when I spoke to other company or other municipalities that are using it, they are saying that they walk some people through it. Once they walk them through it, they're like, wow, that was easy. So, and then they don't come back ever again because they know how to do it. So, and like the other day I was sitting here and a gentleman drove up from Newmarket just to drop off a set of plans. And he dropped it off with the front desk and said to Tammy, I guess I'll drive home now. So, this would eliminate all that stuff. So, like I say, any device that you're using, whether it be an iPhone, Android phone, iPad, tablet, desktop, anything, anywhere in the world that has internet access, you can apply and add your documents and everything like that. So it's a really neat system. If council wants to do see the presentation, that can be arranged as well.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from council? Councillor Constable?
Yeah, this sounds pretty exciting to me. Just coming from the building world, most of our documentation is already electronic. It's actually harder for us to put it on paper and then give it to the municipalities anyways. So, and then like what you said about having people driving up just to drop stuff off doesn't make sense when it's, there's so many good reasons why this would make a lot of sense for us to streamline our process. And it would make it a lot easier for you, everybody involved. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. I hope that this works out.
Okay, thank you. Since you're putting it on our radar screen at this point, I'm sure it would be good to have a presentation for all of council at some point, just so we can, those of us who aren't in the building industry, maybe to wrap our heads around a little bit better. And I'm sure it becomes a budget item as well, just to put that on the radar screen. Do you have any kind of rough pricing at this point in time? I'm sure there's two components. There'll be the cloud storage issue in terms of paying for, and then whatever the program itself costs.
Actually, the way if I can, the way it works is there's one fee basically for the system. You don't own the system, it's all online. So there's no software to maintain. There's no IT issues that we have to deal with. So basically you just pay for a subscription, and it's very similar to what we're paying now for annual maintenance on our current system.
So it's no major budget implication then?
None.
All right.
We're talking maybe $1,000 difference between the two systems, but I believe the savings will far outweigh that. And the nice thing is it's a guaranteed price for 5 years, and they have a 2% increase built in after 5 years for another 5 years. So they're being very reasonable with the costs. It's an all-in cost, so that any changes that any municipality brings to them, there's no fee to make the changes. And then when they make an upgrade or an update based on those changes, it's rolled out to every municipality that pays, that uses the system. So it's actually pretty neat. But I think definitely council would benefit from the presentation, and we can certainly schedule that.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? No, Councillor Gregory? Mute.
Yes, Kim, is there a fee for the builder?
There's, if I can, there's no fee at all for the builder other than the normal building permit fees.
Okay.
And their internet costs for themselves, right?
Right.
So the way it works is the builder or the applicant basically sets up the account, and the applicant can also link or at least assign, say, the designer or the architect or the engineer or the builder, give them access to that account. And the drafts person can basically just drop his files right into the applicant's file. Same with engineers and all that stuff. So it's very seamless. I think I'm, from what I hear, the contractors that have been using it in all the other areas absolutely love it. Most homeowners that are at all tech savvy, using internet now for other things, seem to buy into it pretty quick as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other matters arising under planning or building?
Nothing, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Bylaw enforcement, matters arising?
None, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Fire protection, matters arising? Mr. Duke, no matters arising. Item 9, emergency management. Our outstanding item under that is the declaration of emergency. The McDougall is still under for the COVID-19 emergency response. Any other matters arising? Move on to item 10, recreation. Any matters arising?
None, Your Worship.
Okay. Item 11, public works. Request from Alvin Kong and Benjamin Casa, 14 Viking Trail, request for winter road maintenance of Trout Lake Road. It's a public works item. Anyone on staff want to speak to this at this point in time, or just receive it as a request? Mr. Hunt.
It is a request at this time, although council has received many of these in the past. I've actually had 2 other phone calls in the last week requesting similar services on other roads. I said if they want to come to council, they can, but it's very rare for municipality to take over one of these roads. It's very long and narrow. we're not really set up to take over these things. This is just one of 3 that I know of in the last 2 weeks.
3 requests for the same road, or 3 for 3 separate roads?
3 separate roads now.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure this is no doubt affected by the pandemic situation right now, and people are using their seasonal residence longer, if not all year round throughout this. So it's understandable we get these requests, but obviously these come with a huge requirement in terms of staff time and money and equipment time as well. So at this point, I'll just receive this as a request. Unless anyone from council has anything to add. No, okay. Matters arising under Public Works. Mr. Hunt?
Oh, there none.
No, okay. Environment, waste management, matters arising.
Nothing to bring up to speed at the landfill. We're still waiting for parts for the compactor. Hopefully they're going to get to the bottom of that in the next week or so, and then start rebuilding it with any luck. We finally got our final engineer's report for the foundation for the building. Met with the engineers yesterday, so we will prep. We'll do the groundwork for the building this fall, and then we'll sit till the spring when we'll tender for the building. So it is a lot of work. It's going to take us probably 2 weeks to prepare the groundwork for the foundation. So that's what our job is over the next couple of weeks to get it done before snow flies. You got to remember, it's a 16-foot dig. We're going to go down 16 feet, take the material out, put 80% of the material back in and compact it to 98%. So it's going to take a little bit of time. Most of it can be done in-house. We will need to bring a bigger hoe in to do that, but other than that, most of the work will be done in-house.
Okay, thank you. Any matters arising under Public Works? I'm sorry, under Environment?
Councillor Millat has his hand up.
Councillor Millat? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. In regards to the packer, do we have a time frame? How long it'll be?
To meet you, Mr. Hunt.
Well, they said we're hoping to have it in the next 4 weeks. So right now we're using our loader and our small dozer to get through because times have slowed down a little bit, so the volumes are manageable. Given the actual tonnage and the space we're putting it over, it's not a real negative impact on the overall airspace anyway. So we'll be able to make it back up when we get it back for sure.
And that was my concern. It was going to be a long time if we were losing space and compaction. Did we have a rental fee? Is it, I know it'd be extraordinary, but I'm just curious what we're losing in compaction compared to the costing. And if it went on longer, should we be proactive rather than reactive?
Mr. Hunt?
No, like I said, the tonnages are low right now. So by spreading the garbage over a bigger area, the packer can be away probably for up to 2.5 months if it had to be. And then when it comes back, we can go back and pack that area. So we're not, there's no negative impact on airspace or overall compaction of the cell.
That was my concern. Spreading it out, we can compact it later. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Councillor Constable?
Yeah, it actually brings up a good point about the machinery we're using. So if we're using the front end loader, are we going to be expecting some higher maintenance costs in regards to running it over the garbage and trying to do the work of the other unit with it instead?
John?
No, not really. We're not using it to spread it too far. We're using it just to spread the loads a little bit. Normally the loads would just sit there and we would use the compactor to move it around. So we're just using the loader to move it around so it's a little bit easier for the dozer to get a hold of it and shove it into where we want to put it for now.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions? Move on to item 13, finance. Resolution moved by Councillor Malat, second by Councillor Constable, that the attached list of accounts payable for October 20th, 2020 in the amount of $110,187.80 and payroll for October 21st, 2020 in the amount of $50,167.63 be approved for payment. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried. Item 2, under finance, the Ontario Provincial Police, the billing summary report for July to September 2020. Quite extensive report. Any questions or comments from council on that report? Okay. Matters arising under finance. Mrs. Robinson.
No, there are no matters arising at this time. I do have our tax sales coming back up, which will be advertised at the end of next week with a tax sale closing date of November 25th. There are 4 properties that will be coming up. They're all inhabited properties, no structures or anything on these properties, and they were postponed due to the pandemic in the spring. The provincial government put a order to postpone all tax sales at that time. That order has since been lifted, and I hope to be able to sell some of these properties so they are off our tax roll.
Okay. Any questions for the treasurer? Can you give us an indication, I guess, on a sort of year-to-date basis, how tax collection is going?
Well, I can say that tax
auditor's report and then realize it was 2019, not 2020. So now I'll ask the question for 2020.
Our tax collection, I must admit, is not as aggressive this year as it typically would be due to the fact that people are in more of a financial hardship situation. Basically, at this time of year, I will be sending our past due notices. However, properties have not moved into the tax sale stage for the 2020 year at this time. I'm trying to work with more ratepayers to set up payment plans in order to help bridge the timing until they are back to work full time and would have more income to help settle their taxes. Obviously, this can't go on long term. However, if they are willing to work with me in terms of making a payment plan to keep themselves out of the tax sale situation, I think at this time that is a good measure to take.
Okay, thank you. See any other questions? We'll move on to item 14, administration. Resolution moved by Councillor Ryman, second by Councillor Gregory. This is kind of a lengthy resolution, so maybe with the permission of council, I'll just move right to the therefore be resolved. Thank you. Therefore be it resolved that the Municipality of McDougall agrees that broadband is an essential service and that the Canadian Radio, Television and Telecommunications Commission should allow SpaceX and other private ventures to compete with those presently acting in the communication field as they have the private financial ability to move forward. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be sent to the Federal Minister of Science, Innovation, Economic Development, the Provincial Minister of Economic Development, Employment and Infrastructure, the Provincial Minister of Northern Development and Mines, the Canadian Radio, Television, Communications Commission, Scott Atchison, MP for Parry Sound Muskoka, Norm Miller, MPP for Parry Sound Muskoka, and the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities. Discussion. Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? It's carried. Item 2, from Richard Stubbings, ADM for the Public Safety Division, Court Security and Prisoner Transportation Program Review, there for information. From Sylvia Jones, Solicitor General, Minister responsible for anti-racism, just bring us up to date on the anti-racism initiatives. And item 4 is the report of the clerk. Application to purchase shore road allowance for Staub and Lake Manitowoc. Mrs. West.
Thank you, Your Worship. Very straightforward application where the applicant's looking to purchase the shore road allowance abutting their lands. It would be only the above water portion. Any flooded lands would not be transferred. The property to the west would not be required to sign off, as their lands are, their shore road allowance would be considered flooded. Actually, they don't even have shore road allowance lands. And the property to the east will be required to sign off on the draft survey for the application. Notice will be provided in accordance with our policies. And the recommendation is that council approve the request in principle, subject to our regular public consultation.
Okay. Thank you. Any comments or questions from council? This will come back to us, the formal resolution.
Yes, so the application will now move forward and go through the formal process, and the bylaw will come back at a later date.
Okay, thank you. Matters arising under administration. Item 15, request for support from the Township of Asphodel, Norwood. Cannabis enforcement licensing requirements. No request for support. Township of Carling board and organization levies. Township of Lake of Bays reforms and municipal insurance policy. Loyalist Township funding for community groups and service clubs affected by pandemic. Any matters arising under request for support? Item 16, motions of which notice has been previously given, not aware of any. Item 17, committee reports from CPAC, the Community Policing Advisory Committee, the October 15th, 2020 agenda, and the February 6th, 2020 minutes, and supporting police services board reports. Item 2, North Bay Prairie Sound District Health Unit accepting bookings for the flu shot. Item 3, also from the Health Unit, the Board of Health Personnel Policy Labor Employee Relations Committee, October 15th agenda. Matters arising under committee reports. Councillor Ryman.
Thank you, Worship. Just to let everyone know that I did attend a CPAC meeting last Thursday evening. It was the first one, I believe, since February. And we attended in person. And we were all, of course, had to ask in, and we were seated accordingly. They have a fair-sized boardroom, seated accordingly, the 6 feet apart, at which time, if we're willing, we could take our masks off. And then after that, we were given the tour of the building, and I was quite impressed. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other committee reports? And I'll just report that I attended the Joint Commission between US and Canada webinar regarding Great Lakes water levels. It was an interesting seminar, hearing from experts on both sides of the border. That is available through their website if any member of council or staff want to listen to that. The long and short of it basically was human impact is very little on the Great Lakes water levels, and Mother Nature has a huge impact on what those levels are between evaporation and precipitation going forward. So really their forecasting is only as good as forecasting what the weather is going to be like for the next year going forward. So at this point in time, there isn't a whole lot. They're not actually recommending any action by the federal governments on either side of the border in terms of the Great Lakes water levels. But it's certainly an interesting presentation if any member of council or staff has a chance to take a look at that. If there's no other committee reports, then move on to the report of the CAO, Mr. Hunt.
Thank you. Very quickly tonight. First thing I'd like to do is go back to the police report just for a second. Earlier in the spring, we brought to the attention to council and that we had a lot of calls about speeders, particularly in the Nobel, Taylor Sub, McDougall Road area. And Mr. Ryman was going to address that through the police committee. That has been noticeable. So, Joe, if you can pass on thanks from Lisa Public Works side anyway. Their presence has been absolutely noticeable. They've actually put a pretty decent effort into that, which is surprising. We've asked for that in the past and not been quite as successful as we certainly appear to be now. So pass on our thanks for the support on that side of it anyway. It does make a difference when they're visible. That's for sure. I don't know, as you may or may not know, tomorrow night is the pool meeting for steering committee and the pool committee, which is basically made up of the mayors. Anybody can join that. I think it'll be a well-attended Zoom meeting, I think everybody will be quite interested in that. That has taken up a considerable amount of not only my time, but all the CAOs. It's a pretty big package to go through tomorrow night. That's pretty much been the bulk of our last week and a half preparing for that meeting. So that's kind of where my time has been spent. The other bulk of my time, or what's left of my time, actually has been spent in the Curling Industrial Park. There's been a lot of activity lately up there with people looking to buy lots, expand, some of them frivolous, some of them decent. We just started talks with another purchaser this week who maybe wants to buy 20 acres and put up another very big facility up there. So we'll look forward to see how that moves forward. Other than that, COVID actions here have been pretty good. We meet with staff, both here in the office and in the public works side. Everybody seems to be satisfied that we're doing the right thing. The public seem to be satisfied with what we're doing. Still no complaints. So we're going to continue our general operations the way we are today anyway for the near future. So if anybody has any concerns or complaints from the public, please let us know. We will address them immediately. Other than that, things are good. I will be off for the next 2 weeks, moose hunting and deer hunting. So I will have my phone. So if something comes up, please let me know and I can deal with it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any question, Mr. Hunt, on his report? Okay. I should have just mentioned under committee reports too. I did attend the virtual town hall meeting sponsored by the Parry Sound Chamber of Commerce and the Port Royal Business Association, hosted by our MP Scott Aitchison and our MPP Norm Miller. It was interesting to hear business questions, and they certainly responded very well to the questions that were presented to them. I also took it as another opportunity to put in front of our MPP our request to have natural gas expanded into McDougall, just to make sure it stays on their plate and their agenda. So I've been assured again that we'll be hearing back from them on that item. Item 19, general items and new business. Okay, I will just for the public's, I know we're live streaming tonight, so just for the public's information, we are receiving correspondence, emails and that on two issues right now. One is the Meadowcrest Beach and the other is the raising of chickens in backyards in homes. So what we're doing at this point is staff are just collecting all that correspondence And at a future council meeting, we will be getting a report on both those issues back from staff, just so council is aware as well, because I know some of us been getting asked individually and some chain emails that are going around. So just so council and the staff are aware, we're not ignoring those. We're just collecting them and doing our due diligence in terms of coming up with a response to these requests. Move on to bylaws. Moved by Councillor Constable, second by Councillor Gregory, that bylaw 2020-47 being about, oh, jumped ahead there, didn't I? Should be on 46. Bylaw 2, sorry.
We just have the little public notice portion we should.
Under bylaws, council will now consider bylaw number 2020-46 being a bylaw to declare to be surplus, stop up, close, and transfer part of the original road allowance between lots 20 and 21 in concession 10 in the geographic township of McDougall, now in the municipality of McDougall in the district of Parry Sound, designated as parts 1, 2, and 3 on 42R-21471. Please provide the manner in which notice of the proposed bylaw was given and if any written correspondence was received on this matter, Mrs. West.
Notice of the proposed bylaw was given by advertising in the Parry Sound North Star for 4 consecutive weeks and by circulating the property owners in the immediate area. No written correspondence was received.
Now deal
Carry on.
I'll deal with the bylaw. Moved by Councillor Ryman, second by Councillor Malat, that bylaw number 2020-46 being a bylaw to declare to be surplus, stop up, close, and transfer part of the original road allowance between lots 20 and 21 in concession 10 in geographic township of McDougall, now in the municipality of McDougall in the district of Parry Sound, designated as parts 1, 2, and 3 on 42R-21471 for Stewart and Rivers, be introduced and read a first and second time. Discussion. All those in favor? It's carried. It's a pleasure of council to give this third and final reading tonight. Moved by Councillor Gregory, second by Councillor Constable, that bylaw 2020-46 be read a third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Any final discussion? Call the question. All those in favor? It's carried. Tracking sheet. Any items in the tracking sheet? No items for closed session. Therefore, no ratification of matters from closed session. Now I can do the confirmation bylaw. Moved by Councillor Constable, seconded by Councillor Gregory, that bylaw 2020-47 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the committee council meeting held on October 21st, 2020 be introduced and read a first and second time. Discussion. All those in favor? It's carried. By Councillor Malat, second by Councillor Ryman, that bylaw 2020-47 be read a third time, passed, signed, and sealed. All those in favor? It's carried. We also go to council tonight, moved by Councillor Malat, seconded by Councillor Constable, that we do now adjourn at 8:09 p.m. All those in favor? It's carried. Have a good night, everyone.